And we are live with our 51st installment of Nansen Office Hours. GM, thank you for joining us today. Drop your GMs in the chat, please. I see Journey is saying that first to say GM gets an NFT drop from Paul, and it appears Daniel might have taken that spot already. My name is Alex. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Nansen, also known as the Token God. If you're new to our office hours, every Wednesday we do a Nansen and Chill session where we show off Nansen's new features, we answer questions from you, and we drop the occasional alpha leak. Today we have a very special guest, namely Paul, who is the product manager for NFTs at Nansen. Paul, GM, welcome. Happy to have you on the stream.
GM, Alex, how you doing?
Not too bad. You actually have a pretty interesting background and journey into Nansen. So we first spoke together a long time ago, actually, in a research context, and then later on, you showed up in our candidate pipeline in an application, and actually showed up to the interview with NFT dashboards already made, which was pretty exciting. And we got very impressed by that, and took you on board as a research analyst, which was amazing. And now you've become the product manager for NFTs at Nansen. So do you want to give an introduction of yourself and kind of how you ended up at Nansen?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as you said, we met quite a while. Do you remember when we first met?
I think maybe more than a year ago. I think like maybe just after the summer, DeFi summer or something like that.
It was really early in Nansen's journey, and I think you'd done some work on the blockchain ETL. And as a researcher, I was doing a PhD. I'm just finishing it off still in crypto and business models and social capital. And I was looking for the best data sets possible. And I reached out to Alex because it just looked like what they were doing with blockchain, no one else was doing. And you could capture this massive set of labels and data and do all kinds of interesting academic analysis of behavior, because crypto is unlike anything to me. When you look at it, there's all these things going on that no one sees. So I reached out to Alex and we had a quick meet up, and I couldn't afford his labels or his advice. So I said, I'll have a go at building my own one. And I got a little bit along. And then in about a year's time, like I could see that Nansen had really taken off and looked like they were doing exciting stuff. So yeah, I just applied. Probably the worst application I've ever done, like an email saying, hey, this sounds like we have something in common, or not too much background. And then I had had an interview with Isaac, who was operations, who's brilliant. And we just had half an hour chatting about NFTs, and I showed them a concept that I literally just scrapped together the day before. I was like, NFTs, interesting. Sounds like Nansen might use this. And from there, it's just been really exciting, because they took a bit of a chance with me and gave me the resources to be able to build the kind of stuff I was looking at in my research and put it into life a bit. So NFTs have been perfect for that. There's so much social layers in NFTs, and that's part of what my research looked at, connecting crypto with social layers. So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, and what's kind of happened in the NFT market since then has been really interesting. So I think I started about May, just as NFTs were heating up, and there was just zero visibility. Like no one really knew what was going on. Like, you'd go on OpenSea and there'd be maybe, if you're lucky, like a line graph for the last 7 days, and that's what people were trading off. No one even knew what the biggest projects were. It was really difficult, unless you're a specialist team making your own kind of data from the blockchain. It was really difficult to know just what was going on at all. So we tried to build this product that gave you more transparency and depth, but doing it the Nansen way, which is doing it all on chain, pulling it all from the source, so you can just look up any NFT you like. So it's not just like some platforms at that point were kind of putting toward analysis together, or projects were putting analysis together just for their project. So it was really exciting to do that, and it just seemed to hit the market at the perfect time. And fast forward a few months, and we're still just trying to push the boundaries on that depth. So we've got loads of features coming out that maybe we could talk about if we run out of things to say, like new things we're doing. But we've also got some new updates lately that I'd really like to talk about. I did a bit of a research article on and got a bit excited about these new smart money labels that we've got. So yeah, maybe we could dig into that a bit.
Yeah, there's tons to talk about. I think we should definitely spend some time looking at like the latest features and kind of get your voice over on, what these labels mean, how they're useful. You also wrote a really good research article recently. I guess people can find that on nansen.ai/research. If I'm not wrong. Yes, it's called Why the Smart Money Matters More in Crypto. So you can find it at nansen.ai/research. That was a really, really great post, Paul. I don't know if I gave you that feedback, but I really enjoyed reading that, and everyone should read it because it talks about these new labels, but it also talks about the why of smart money and consequently the why of Nansen. Like, why is Nansen a product that's needed, and why is it different, or why is it even possible to do this compared to like traditional finance, where the markets are much more opaque. So I think we were definitely going to look into some of the new features around NFTs. Maybe we'll just also try to see like how you use the dashboards, because I know you're also very interested personally in NFT collections and so on. And I think there are a few collections here that our research analysts have prepped us on that we might look at as we go through the dashboards. But yeah, should we just dive in and
yeah,
maybe I can share your screen, and then we can hop into Nansen right away. So here we go. I've added your screen and you're live now sharing. So feel free to take it from here.
Okay, so let me just show you what I would do when I normally log in. So this is NFT Paradise. So once I've logged in, I can scroll down, click on NFT Paradise in this little drop-down menu. And then this gives me what I see as the news for the day. And I think someone else referred to it as that in a Nansen video. And it's a really good way of catching up with what happened overnight. So most people stay on top of the NFT market, but not everyone gets time to watch it every minute. So in this kind of overview table, you can quickly see the volume in the last 24 hours in ETH. You can see what we estimate to be the daily market cap and a few other statistics there. And this is a really powerful table for me. There's a few ways I use it. Like one way, if I just want to see the contracts deployed lately in the last few minutes, I can go here. So we see one, right? I had no idea what this is.
Has like zero volume, so maybe not a huge thing.
But it could be an interesting one to look at it because it's been deployed. So if you really wanted to be on your game, you could actually just look through the newly deployed ones, do a bit of Twitter research on the name, and be ready for that first mint.
That's literally 11 minutes ago, right?
Yeah. So this has just been deployed on the blockchain. And if you want, we can go down to one which is deployed. Like we could look at tennis bits. It's got 0.8 ETH, which is hardly any, but 66 transactions. But if we go down further, we've got Wizards and Dragons game there, which was deployed 7 hours ago, and that's already got nearly 2,000 ETH. So that appears in our kind of leaderboard when we sort by volume as well as third place. So that's quite substantial, and I think that's building on the latest trend for these kind of NFT DeFi crossover games. But so maybe maybe we can dive into that.
Yeah, I'm actually going to try to take a mental bookmark there, and maybe we can come back to the Wizards and Dragons game, because I would love to dive into that. But it would be great to continue to just see how you look at these dashboards as well.
Well, let's dive into that. So one feature that's often overlooked, it's for VIPs at the moment, is if you click this button here, you get a filter. So if I put game in, that'll filter everything with game in its name. And suddenly we see like this latest trend for games. It started with Wolf Game, which we've got here, and we've got the newly migrated contract here because they migrated to a new contract. Journey from NFT actually realized that, and she tagged it, and it came up as the new one, which is great. We've got all these different games, and you can see how popular they are as well in volume. So that gives an overview of how you can actually see what's going on, and also dig in a bit deeper to different types of NFTs. Another way to use this, for example, I think CryptoPunks has seen a little bit of a lack of volume lately, but it's still holding up on maximum price. So you could see this a bit like a price ceiling rather than price floor. And usually CryptoPunks is max price, but actually this would suggest they haven't had a sale in the last 24 hours, as that would put them at the top. We could search by average price as well to find out more broadly just how healthy that NFT is if it's had lots of transactions. And finally, I think this is something I've seen you use, which is the wallets, which is a really interesting one. When you drill down, it's one of the key statistics. And this is the only column on here which actually isn't sorted by wallets in the last 24 hours. This is like how many people own these NFTs. So we can go to the latest like game kind of phase we're in, look at Whale's game and see there's already 4,300 people holding it. If we take that filter off, you can get a bit of an idea of where that sits in other projects. So right at the top, we've got Axes, which is just incredible, like 2.7 million users. I mean, they might not all be different people, but there's a good chance most of them are. Ethereum name service, massive amount. And then CryptoKitties is still quite an active project and still one of the big ones with over 100,000. But as you scan through this, you get an idea for how hard it is for projects to get this amount of users. So I think Whale Game had something like 4,300. There it is here. And you can kind of compare it to other projects and see how long they've been around. For example, one that, yeah, go for it.
Just one reflection here, because I think many people are skeptical towards NFT collections being created left and right because they feel like there's kind of like an infinite supply, right? But I think another perspective that I just thought of here, like looking at the way you're talking about different projects with different amounts of wallets, there's like a natural constraint within each NFT collection, right? So there's like 10,000 apes or 8,888 pangus, right? And that means you kind of, the only way you can really grow and get in more people is literally by creating more collections. So I think like, you know, some people might say that there's too much supply going on, but at the same time, if you're going to have this demand of like so many people coming into the NFT space, you need to have more collections to just give people, right? Have you thought about this from like, I mean, a sociology perspective, or like how you think about the markets, or yeah, what do you think? Is this, you know, are the sort of skeptics right in that, you know, there's just infinite supply, everything's going to go to zero, or does it actually make sense that you need to create these new collections pretty much all the time to basically serve the demand that's coming in?
I think like I've got some graphs on that as well that we could leak later maybe, but we could come back to that. But
okay.
Overall, I think this just shows that the market can sustain this amount of collections. And I think one of the big questions over the NFT market at the moment is how many collections can we have? And some people say, well, if we have too many, then it's just going to fall apart. But my view is a bit more, it's not exactly an academic one, but it's more that if we have all these different types of projects innovating just a tiny bit in what they do, then people are going to pick the better ones, and you're going to see the winners more strongly differentiated from the not so good projects. So I'd imagine that we might have less projects over time if I was to take a risky prediction or speculation, but those projects might be stronger and firmer, and their communities will be the ones that win out. So the ones with strong communities. And this is a very blunt idea of community by just looking at how many people are in it. Our dashboard should allow you to like dive into that, and you can substantiate it with just looking at the Discord, getting a feel for who's in it. And if you dive into our wallet profile, if you really want, you can look at like exactly the behavior of the people in that project to see just if they're really speculating on it or perhaps holding it more long term with an investment kind of framework. So yeah, I could probably talk about that for a while actually, but I think it's incredible to see over time basically how this table I'm showing you now has changed. When I first designed the dashboards, there were about 3 active projects, maybe 10, and they never really grossed over 1,000 ETH volume a day, or occasionally they did. And we just saw that grow to 20. So I started using the second page a couple of months ago, well, a few months ago now. And now we've got active projects like all the way down. These are so in this view, the 24-hour market overview, it only shows active projects. So here it shows 1,360 projects, all of which have had some type of activity on them in the last 24 hours. We actually cover, last time I counted, we cover 18,000 NFTs. So any ERC-721 that's been deployed to Ethereum, basically. So I think the market's getting bigger, but it's also getting more sophisticated. And that's kind of like what I'm hoping to push our analytics to do over the next few months is to show that depth you need. It used to be that you could just buy anything here in the top and you as long as you didn't sell it on the first bump. But now I think, yeah, you need a bit more sophistication to how you invest in these things.
Yeah, so I think that also ties back to Nansen's value proposition, because I think there are at least 3 value propositions that we like to highlight with Nansen. The first is that you can discover new opportunities, which has been maybe the primary use case of Nansen in the NFT world, because as you said, you could almost just buy any NFT collection if you were early enough, and it will do well, would do well. But now maybe this kind of due diligence and sort of distinguishing between what's durable, like what's long lasting, and what's just like a flash in the pan might become more important going forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And we want to move into rarities next and have different traits for different NFTs. And that's where you can really get under the skin of what's going on in a project and get some new data points. So there's a lot of pitfalls to like new buyers to NFTs that not exactly people would fall for, but they can't always make the best investments or have the best visibility. So going back to like before we even had these dashboards, I think a lot of people just buy the first one they saw, or they just look at what's on Twitter and click it because you wouldn't even know what's out there to pick from. So yeah, discovery is a massive part of this, and I think it's just exciting to see all these names as well. Just scrolling through, seeing the different contract names. And once you know the story behind them, it's really cool to see the data confirm it.
Absolutely. Do you want to take people through the tabs at the top as well? Because I'm not sure everyone knows.
Yeah, sure.
You know, there's like the Mint Master. Like, what's that showing you?
Yeah, let's go through them. First of all, though, let me just show you some of the overall features that I've kind of glossed over. Yeah. So we've got this left-hand menu now, which you can collapse. Which is really cool, and it also means that you can navigate to these things a bit quicker as well than you used to be able to. So you can just click this open and go where you like. One other thing, whilst I'm here, and it's in my mind, I'll quickly highlight is we've got smart alerts and we've got Watchlist up here. So I'll try and come back to that as we're using the product to show you how I would use that.
Amazing.
One other thing as well on this page is the profit leaderboard. So these are like the people who are turning the biggest profits basically on NFTs. We list the top 100, but we can come back to that as well if we get time. So the next feature here is Mint Master. As NFTs got more and more popular, minting became a really important part of the game. So if anyone that doesn't really know too much about NFTs, minting is when you create a new NFT. But it's a bit like a lottery. You don't know which one you're going to get normally. So you mint it, and then you go to OpenSea and you look at what you've got and the different rarities on it. And minting's got all kinds of complexities to it, and how the different kind of rules of the game are designed for different people, and how different people can take advantage of it or just kind of get into it quickly. And one of the things we've seen most is there's such excitement around new projects being dropped that everyone jumps on, and it pushes the transaction fees and gas prices up. But often that very early on in a project is where the biggest gains are to be made and the best NFTs are to be scooped. So what we did is made Mint Master, and Mint Master tells you within the last 15 minutes what is the most popular minted contract. So we scan every single contract and every single mint happening right now, and we say, what is the most popular one. And we've got two here. Woods and Dragons is still on there, and Crypto Chaser's Robot I've never heard of.
So
And
just
we also,
clarifying question on that. So the number of minters, is that just in the last 15 minutes, or because that seems like insanely high at 3,674, or is it the last 24 hours?
Yeah, that's the total minters so far. And we have our
Okay.
smart minters there. Total volume so far. Gas, which can be a really important data point because the gas can often cost more than the NFT. And finally, the one I really like is first mint. So we could just ignore this FOMO level if we want, and we just want to know what's been minted. So these are the ones that people have just started minting and have a bit more activity on them. So if you really wanted to get in early, you could do it that way.
I feel like this Wizards and Dragons game is like shouting at us, and we're totally we're totally missing out by being on this stream. Maybe. Well, no, there's no investment advice here, right? Like people should be careful. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that pops up on your radar when you use Nansen.
So it's probably a good time to talk about smart money here, because we see this column smart minters as well. So we've always had smart money at Nansen. Maybe you could give us an introduction of smart money, since it's kind of crosses the whole Nansen product.
Sure. So from my perspective, it used to be the case that if you were looking at on-chain metrics, you would look across all addresses, right? Like 200 million different addresses. But in reality, you only care about a select few addresses, namely the ones that know what they're doing. And so smart money is our attempt to curate the addresses that have a good track record investing in various different things on the blockchain, or belong to a reputable investor, for example, a VC fund, or say a reputable angel investor. And so this is kind of like, many people ask us, like, what does it mean to be smart money? And this is like a bit of the secret sauce. It's not the only secret sauce we have at Nansen, but the exact way we calculate it is actually many different factors that play in. But it's our attempt to curate the, say, few thousand addresses that you really should be looking at because they have a good track record. So when we say, let's follow what the smart money is doing, typically you would be looking at the smart money aggregate segment. So maybe this is a good example here, the sort of P&L of smart money, or investments and returns. Do you want to explain what this means, Paul?
Yeah, sure. So this is just for NFT smart money, but this is the daily investments and returns done by smart money. So again, it's quite a blunt statistic, but it just gives you an insight into their behavior. And one of the key things for me is they're consistently making bigger returns than investments. And that's probably with holding a lot of valuable NFTs, I'd imagine, as well. So
the bottom one there, I think if you highlight net profit loss, like the sort of little icon up to the left below the title, it makes it, at least for that one, it makes it a bit easier to read. And you can see, like, pretty much every day they're net profitable, right? This segment.
Yeah. So it's really powerful. I mean, you would expect that from smart money as well. It's powerful to see how that kind of keeps going as well in the future, and it gives you a bit more insight. They're often market movers as well, so I'm always interested when they're spending. So when they spend a lot of money, it's often quite a good signal for the market as well. So some people seem kind of gone for a mini bear market lately, and you can see smart money adjusting themselves here, continuing to take profits, and just recently starting to spend a little more again. So a lot of the money flows to smart money, and then they reinvest it in the ecosystem if that's their strategies. And I think we see that over and over again, especially of NFTs. The smart money aren't just there to make money, they're there to support the markets, really, and to support the new projects that they think are innovative.
Yeah, I feel like this chart is like so insightful. I really like it. It sort of hits that sweet spot of being like macro enough to say something broadly about the market, but still granular enough to have a lot of signal. I think it's great.
Cool. Right, so we were talking about Mintmaster. I will move on from that, and I'm sure we'll dive into Wizards and Dragons soon. I'm going to skip the Bluechip Index and go straight to the new dashboard, NFT Smart Money, because we're talking about smart money. We've always had smart labels for Nansen, and we had special smart labels made up for NFTs. But recently, our attribution team did a massive effort and really some deep thought into how we do NFTs better. And as a product, we focus that into smart NFT money. So rather than having a few different signals, where like we used to, as kind of aggregate labels where you could follow like how many smart money or legendary people are doing that, now we just have smart NFT money. And the reason for that is, as I said, like the market's getting smarter. You can't just follow the people with the most ETH or making the most transactions anymore. You have to dive into exactly who is doing what, and with a bit more precision, project by project. So we've got 4 new labels, which are really exciting to introduce, which is NFT Smart Minter, Smart Trader, Smart Early Adopter, and what was the other one is...
Let me see if I can bring it up from the research article.
Smart Hodler.
Smart Hodler, exactly.
So these are like, we've classified their behavior, and we said, actually, there's like 4 very different types of smart NFT buyers, all making quite big profits or all holding. So we now also look at just how much their portfolio is worth. So the hodlers are people who bought really early on and they don't sell. And it might be they still buy new projects and they don't sell them, or they sell them a little bit, but they wouldn't sell when like you and I would sell. Normally, like if we make a 5 times or a 10 times, we're happy. Hodlers they're just a different breed when it comes down to it. I don't understand how, if someone's doing it for investment purposes, they don't sell half or even 10% of their portfolio when it doubles.
So I have a question on that, because I was wondering, can you receive multiple of these labels, or are they sort of mutually exclusive?
Okay. So they are overlapping slightly, but we've tried to make them into the strictest criteria. But some people, they just hit all of them at once. So some people
I'd love to see like an example of someone who hits several checkboxes, but I don't know if we have one on the spot.
I'm not sure the best way to find them as well. Maybe we'll come across one. We'll have a look at it.
Yeah.
So briefly, the other ones are early adopters. So these are people who brought in the best projects really early. So we're talking CryptoPunks, Death Beef, Autoglyphs. I think we've only 4 or 5 projects that are really big, and they bought them way before they were popular, and they didn't sell them too early. We've got the smart minters, and these are people who are on top of their minting game. So if we go back to the minting master, we actually have a way better leaderboard than we used to, and way better heuristic for coming up who's a smart minter. They have to have turned, I think it's 5 times profit on multiple projects, and at the end of all that, still be profitable, as well as having a profitable portfolio. There's quite, I won't go too into it because it gets quite complex, but the team we work with on this, the attribution team, they just went like full force on it and really dug into those details to make a difference. We update them slowly as well, not like every day, but they do slowly evolve as we see new players come in and old ones maybe not keeping their game up.
So if I recall correctly, there's on that note, there is kind of a 7-day grace period, right? Like if you fall out of the segment, you have kind of like 7 days to make it back in. Like if you do some dumb trades, you can make it back if you sort of make it back up again to the top 100 or something like that, right?
Yeah, so it's not because like everyone makes a bad trade, and that kind of leads on to one of the biggest problems we had, which was how we categorize people whose strategy is actually to buy like 10 projects and just see one winner. So we tried to catch them with that kind of criteria as well, rather than just saying statistically these are the winners and then finding out we've kind of put ourselves in a bit of kind of feedback loop there. So we've tried. I think this is such a strong signal now compared to what we used to have. We used to have a strong signal, and this is now clearer, focused, and one of the interesting things is we pushed it out really quickly. So these guys came up with the labels, they tested them, they made sure they were the best labels, but we put it into the dashboards like within the next day or two. So what you're seeing here, like not many people have really seen yet. So this is real raw kind of new signals that I'm really interested in seeing exactly how they perform. And we've also tested the dashboard so you can see the breakdown of who's buying what, which I find really fascinating as well. So as can be expected for like the smart minters, it's mainly, I mean, for the latest mints, it's mainly smart minters buying into it. Sorry, Alex, you were going to say.
No, it's great. I just wanted to ask another basic question, like how many wallets are there in each segment? Is it like 100 or roughly?
Yeah, I'm not totally sure. I think there's about 100 in each segment.
Yeah.
So
that means, yeah, I was just gonna say that means, if you're really serious about like understanding NFTs and NFT investing, it's probably worth it just to almost like study a lot of these individual addresses, right? Like click through on the individual addresses and see, hey, when did they start getting into NFTs? Like, what have they been doing? Which collections? Which ones have they taken gains on? Which ones do they still hold? Like, there's a lot of alpha you can get, which is actually not super easy to replicate. Like, if you put down the hours, of course, we try to surface the signal, but there's always like, you can always go more granular through these dashboards and sort of tease out even more alpha if you invest the time into it.
Yeah, and that's where maybe we'll have a look at Watchlist in a minute as well, because that's where that really comes into its own. If you have something like 1 million labels, Nansen pulls out the smartest of the smart wallets, then that's kind of half the job done. But as you say, everyone's got their own strategies. So doing a deep dive on what they've been buying, when they've been selling, and how is a bit like taking a course in crypto or investment. It's a bit like I used to play a bit of chess, and it's a bit like copying the moves of all the masters. I think that's how most like of the best chess players learn. You do something like 4,000 games and copying like the best players, and before you know it, you make those moves naturally.
Yeah, and that's also how you train machine learning models, right? Like basically have them.
Yeah.
Is one part of it, right? Yeah, to just have them look at tons of games played by experts. So yeah, you mentioned Watchlist. So yeah, should we look at an example, or like how would you use Watchlist?
Two things at once. Then we'll get into Wizards and Dragons, and we'll see who's holding it.
Finally.
Nice. Well, actually, just before we do that, let's look at Wizards and Dragons on this dashboard though. So Wizards and Dragons is interesting because although we cover the last 24-hour on this smart money dashboard, and they're both on the smart buys and sells, which suggests people are buying it and selling it very quickly, the smart money. However, we've also got this hodler segment here who we would expect not to sell. So this is probably a good one to dive into and see who's holding it. Shall we have a look at the project first?
Yeah.
Just see what it looks like.
Let's do it. Always good to have an idea of like what we're looking at. Nice, some 8-bit art here.
Yeah, classic $33,000 8-bit art. Yeah. These latest projects are much about utility though, as much as the art. So these kind of game projects are really mixing DeFi utility with the NFTs. So this should have metadata, which is all the different things, and it should also
pretty hard on this button.
Yeah. So one of the things I'd first do if I was foaming hard is have a look at the highest last sale to get an idea of what's valuable. I have no idea what that is. The other good thing about we could talk about diligence a bit more if we need to, but one of the good ways about Nansen is once you've seen the statistics and the smart money that you're interested to buying into the project, by clicking our OpenSea link, you know you've got the correct link to the project. You know this is the correct contract. Whereas there's this kind of scam on OpenSea where people just release projects that look the same. And if it hasn't got a blue tick yet, it's quite hard to know which is which. So
yeah, one of my best friends fell
but here,
for
like
that.
We have no idea if these are the correct NFTs or not.
Yeah, one of my best friends fell for that scam, and it was so frustrating. It's like you spend years trying to get someone to join crypto, and then
Yeah.
the first collection they buy is a scam collection, right? It's like such a bad onboarding experience. But yeah,
It's
so
such
maybe
a bad
one way
feeling.
to get
It's a
around
horrible
that.
feeling, isn't it, as well, if you get scammed.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah. So maybe some one way to avoid that is kind of to literally, I mean, if you have a Nansen account, is to look at the collection from our dashboards, because it actually shows you where you have the volume. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot have scams in Nansen. Like, you can if
yeah,
there's
yeah,
on-chain volume.
sure.
So, but if you're looking at Wizards and Dragons, like the link here where you can see it clearly has the highest volume, is basically, that's a great proxy. And you also want to look for that blue check mark on OpenSea, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's very complex, really, when you get into that diligence. But these are steps you can take to safeguard yourself. So we will show other contracts, because we show all contracts. So if we see a scam one, we'll try and label it, but also it wouldn't, like you say, it wouldn't have this activity on it either. Unless the scam one was really popular, and then is it a scam one? So there's also kind of a philosophical point where it's like, it might just be a copy scam, but what
That's
if
true.
everyone values it? Then it's a bit like forking Bitcoin. If
Yeah,
everyone likes
that's
it, then
true.
what's the problem? Unless it is an actual scam, where it might lock you in. So yeah, sorry, we could go down that for ages, but
just wanted to ask you, if you, so so Journey is pointing out that this looks like a Wolf game fork.
yeah.
And wonder, do you know anything about Wolf game, or like what's the concept here?
Okay. Well, yeah. So Wolf game.
If you
Really
don't, that's
interesting.
fine. But I have no idea, so I'm
I
just
haven't
curious to
used
hear it.
Wolfgame much, but I was doing a Twitter update of our latest smart buys based on the smart money dashboard I just showed you. And Wolfgame came up as both a smart buy and a smart mint, which you don't always see. So by that, I mean, I'll just show you quickly. It came up both as being the smart buy, having the top smart buyers on the secondary market, and also on the minting market, which is the bottom one here, and it by quite a bit. So I put them up there on the Twitter, and I clicked through to their Twitter, and they only had a really small amount of followers. So it was really early on for that project. And since then, it's got massive, and it's migrated to a new contract, and they've seen thousands of ETH in volume. Let's have a look at Wolfgame. So if I wanted to look at it in our dashboards, I'd search for it in NFT God mode, and it would show me a bit more. This is the old contract, like I said, there's two. And then, doing it this way, I can check the volume is high. So I can see, look, there's 4,000 volume in ETH there. And I can go through to the OpenSea link or the Etherscan one. So I'm sure I'm kind of on the right project. And from there, I often go to the website off of OpenSea. And again, this could be something you're kind of trusting OpenSea to put the right website up. So there is always a small degree of like, potentially there's a scam. You can question it as much as you want. But I'm pretty sure this is the right website. And with Wolfgame, from what I can make out, I haven't played it. I didn't get in on the smart money, I should have. But you mint NFTs, and then from there, they can be sheep or wolf, and you raise an in-game currency. So not only do you have an NFT, but you also have this thing called wool, which is part of how the game works. And their white paper outlines it quite well. So I won't keep saying how it works because I haven't played it, so I might get it wrong. But it's got it seems like it's got some really interesting kind of DeFi game dynamics where you stake your NFT and you get like 10,000 wool a day, which have a value. But on top of that, you've got this kind of idea of wolves and sheep. And I think wolves can still minting NFTs. A certain amount of NFTs will be stolen by the wolves. So I'm not quite sure if that's right. Someone will probably correct us in the chat. And this Wizards and Dragons, it seems really similar. So we've got this currency, which I think we'll see more and more of with NFTs, where the NFT also has like an ERC20 currency. And I imagine you can stake it, maybe not. But we've got Wizards and Dragons, so it's almost a clone of sheeps and wolves. And you have to guard the tower by the looks of it. So
So this is kind of like DeFi meets play to earn, something like that. Would that be a way to describe it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's really similar to those DeFi kind of lo-fi DeFi websites we saw last year as well, like Yam and stuff, where it's a bit like Compound as well, where it's just like I kind of really like this type of web design.
Yeah, I think it appeals to those of us born in the 1980s.
Yeah, they know who they're going after.
Yeah.
So that's what I haven't done a deep dive on it, and I'd probably check out their Twitter, Discord down here, OpenSea, and get an idea of how it works. But we could probably let's just look at the smart money on that to begin with. So in the latest transactions, there hasn't been any smart money, but when it first came, not so long ago, there would have been. Oh, this is Wolf Game. Sorry, let's get back.
Yeah, we should go back to the wizard.
Which
one.
game?
I'm actually, yeah, exactly. I'm actually, because this is so new that it's probably good to get a bit of a voice over of like what we see. So here you see a lot of smart NFT buyers.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So as we were talking about diligence, I could probably mention that here as well. So these are all the people buying it. So when you see a price next to it, this person bought that NFT. There's a scam in crypto where projects send the NFTs to people to make it look like they bought them. And they do that a few different ways. So we've adjusted all our dashboards to clearly show exactly when that person actually initiated the transaction. So all these transactions were initiated by the buyer. So all this smart money is really unusual to see this amount. And we can definitely confirm that is the NFT smart money buying it. One of the interesting things about this, which might not be obvious to users of Nansen, is that because we've got these new smart money labels, you will see less yellow dots. So this is one of the biggest signals people look at is like, are there yellow dots buying? Because it tends to happen before prices go up. Often we see this kind of...
The very first high one there was actually Pranksy, right? He was like the second most profitable address.
Yeah, okay.
On Ethereum.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So we can see smart money got in early, but let's break that down a bit more and look at who's holding it. So if we go to
maybe breakdown would be good. Yeah.
I imagine this is the staking contract. If they've got that,
you should label that attribution team if you're watching.
Yeah. But we can also see who, and it might be that most people are playing the game. So you might even be able to go into our normal token god mode and see what's happening to those tokens. We can see this guy
sneaking 10 minutes ago. That's like after the office hours started.
Yeah. So they're still buying or minting. There could be all kinds of game dynamics here going on as well. So it can be hard to kind of know exactly. It's a really new project as well. If we look at the overview, 8 hours ago, this contract was deployed. So that's super fast to have this many people involved in it. So we are still kind of getting a bit of our data, like NFT God mode does more of an overview daily often. So a lot of these tables here are still populating, but we can see it's already broken down that there's 35 minters and 3 hodlers and 15 traders. If we go to trades here, we can see the latest smart money, and Sneaky Ninja Pants seems to be really on one right now. But there's actually quite a lot of different smart money buying here. So one thing I could do in this project, if I was interested, I can see Sneaky Ninja Pants maybe has quite a few NFTs in it. They're quite heavily invested in it. So let's see what kind of buyer they are. So find out if the smart money's there. They're a smart NFT minter. So we can see that in wallet profile. So we know that this person, but looking at the smart NFT minter criteria, they flip NFTs basically within 60 days. So our smart minter heuristics based on this kind of 60-day period where you mint an NFT and sell it for a profit. And you can see that straight away in the scatter graph, like an insane amount of buying activity. And then the selling activity, sorry, those purple ones are selling. and those lighter blue kind of cyany ones are buying activity. So we've got massive amounts of minting and selling, I'd imagine. They've also got quite a large portfolio, which is unusual for people that purely mint and sell. So those kinds of traders often mint an NFT, sell them, and then they use the profits to reinvest in the next project. So we can break this down and see where's most of his portfolio right now allocated, and it's in Wolfgame. So I'd imagine he started out on Wolfgame and has moved over to Wizards and what is it? Wizards
and Dragons.
Wizards and Dragons. We can also see his previous trades here. So how much has he made on trades so far? You can see he's made most of his money, or he, she, them, has made most of their money on Galactic Apes. Actually lost a bit on Cyberkongs. And we can also see how much of that project did they sell. So we could say they lost a bit on Cyberkongs, but perhaps their remaining 2 NFTs are worth a bit more. So if I go up to here and look at Cyberkongs, I can see they've got 1 left and it's worth 4.89 ETH. That's not why we're here though. We're here to look at like kind of really dig into the smart money and the watch list for it. So, so what I'd do here is I'd click the start and I'd put them in my watch list. And what that means now is when I go to watch list, these are the people I watch on my account. Sneaky Ninja Pants comes up and it'll populate some data on it. The other thing I can do with that watch list is put Wizards and Dragons in as well. In fact, if I wanted to, I could just take all the game-based NFTs purely on the idea that they might have game in their name, and I could just go through these, putting stars next to them. And now in the browser, the star appears every time you see that wallet or every time you see the project in question.
And you can actually right-click the row. You don't have to go into the screen, right?
You can usually right click. Let me show you that. So if I want to put Wolfgame migrated in, which is a good idea, add to watch list, and that pops up.
Yeah.
Wales game. Right. So let's go to watch list. So we've now got Sneaky Ninja Pants in here. We can see a little more at a glance what they're doing daily. So what's their net profit for NFTs? What do they have in normal tokens? And how much ETH do they have? Which is really interesting. Like I watch Pranksy and I watch his ETH balance quite keenly to see if he's loading up to buy something potentially.
Does that mean you also have smart alerts on Pranksy or?
Exactly, yes. The way I would use this for this project, I would load in like several of the top players that I'm interested in who seem to be making savvy decisions. So I'd say, yeah, they're smart money. I might confirm it by looking at their wallet profile and seeing kind of what their strategy is. I could even tell them that maybe they'll sell this project really soon or hold on to it. Then once I've got a few in here, I can create my smart alerts here. So we could either watch the wallet or the token. So we could watch a few wallets or we could watch tokens. So, but let's just start with wallets. So Sneaky Ninja Pants here. We have a drop-down menu here now where we can copy the address, take that address, and what was their name again? It was Sneaky Ninja Pants. I'm just going to put Sneaky in there. That would be my trigger name. Now, this is a new thing. We can just track his NFTs or their NFTs because it used to be all their transactions. And we can even go into watching them mint. So he seems to be a really smart minter. Maybe I just want to watch everything he mints. So if that was the case, I put his wallet address in here and I'll get notified every time he mints a new project. Or I might want to know when he's trading just this project. So here I can put in, I keep forgetting the name, Wizards and Dreamers. It's not auto-populating, but perhaps we can try just looking at the actual NFT address if that one fails. So coming back to Wizards and Dragons game, I often take it from the bar up here, but you can take it from here as well. and just copy that into the smart alerts.
Funny how they have like a vanity address on the contract, 0x999.
Yeah, I really like that. It
Yeah.
takes you back to the days of like vanity addresses in just like Bitcoin, and everyone's trying to hash out the best one. Yeah, you saw CryptoPunks then briefly popped up with their vanity address. Not sure if it is definitely one, but they've got 3 Bs at the end here. I always look at the end. I don't know about you. Do you look at the start or the end of a?
I look at the start.
Address? Yeah, I find it easier to look at the end.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
Otherwise, you're always looking at like 0x, right? So.
Yeah, makes sense. We have a couple of questions, by the way, in the chat, which I've been a bit slow to raise here. So there's one question on the NFT paradise. Like, is there a barrier on the 24-hour NFT market? Say there's only one transaction, would it still be shown in the NFT paradise?
Let's have a look. I think even if there's one, it would be shown. There's a chance I set it at 2 or 3. Yeah, so we can see there's just one transaction there, and it's showing them.
Yeah. So that means any collection with at least one transaction will be shown here, right? That's pretty much the cutoff.
Yeah.
Then there's actually a question also earlier from Darren. Is there a way to develop some sort of Gini coefficient based on the data provided? I guess this was with regards to the holders or
for the project. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I feel like we don't have a Gini, but we have something quite similar, right?
Yeah, so if we take something like, let's take crypto, make it actually Sandbox LANDs is pretty hot lately. It's been making week-on-week gains for the last 4 weeks. I know that because we're making some new Bluechip indexes, maybe Redchip or New Chip, and Sandbox LANDs keeps popping up as like fitting this really nice criteria for popular NFTs. So
you should tell us about that Redchip Index afterwards as well.
Yeah, right. So we don't do Gini coefficient. I really like the idea of the Gini coefficient, but I think sometimes it doesn't always show what people think it shows. Or there's a few other ways we could show it, which might show the distribution of ownership better. But this is what we have at the moment. And please request Gini coefficient if you want to see it in, because we could just pop it in here. And if there's enough people requesting it on Canny, which is our feedback platform, then we'll put it in and we'll make the case for it.
So the call to action is to go to feedback.nansen.ai.
Yeah, if you've got the link, you should drop that in.
Yeah.
So one thing you can look at is unique addresses. That's a very broad idea of decentralization or distribution of the NFT project. Great metric if it's going up like this. If you look at CryptoPunks in its history, often it just went vertical, and that was before price movements, almost pre-shadowing them. The other one here is percentage holding one NFT, and this is one you're quite keen on, Alex. Maybe you can talk a bit about this, because I think this is one of the ones you look at a bit more often.
Yeah, I like this one because it's quite intuitive, like what percentage of all the holders only hold one NFT. The reasoning is basically if you only hold one NFT, you're a lot less likely to sell it. If you hold 20 NFTs, you might sell one and it doesn't make a huge difference to you. So my sort of simple analysis here would be that the higher this number is, the better, because you want to have the token be distributed amongst many different addresses. And if by default, that means that those addresses hold fewer NFTs. And if they only hold one NFT, they're less likely to sell it. So I think it's more likely that you won't see dumping on the market if that number is high.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's a great metric for that. And it speaks to something similar to the Gini coefficient, but not exactly the same. The thing I like is actually sometimes the reverse of that, though. It's funny you should say that, because sometimes I look at a project, and if I see not many people holding it, and I know they're smart money, I know they're probably going to be quite responsible. So sometimes I get a little worried when this is too high. It's like if it's a new project and it suddenly loses the floor price, you can see people exit really quickly. So one thing, sometimes I look at this and I kind of look at like, where is that NFT in its life cycle? And if it's near the beginning and this is still like not many people holding one, and I can see like Pranksy owns 1,000, then I'm actually quite happy, because Pranksy doesn't generally dump on the market aggressively. He has fairly strong hands, or he. So
Yeah.
that's like interesting that the metric can be taken in a couple of different ways depending on the project and the context and the smart money, really.
Yeah. I think it would be really cool we have like balance of diamond hands, right? But do we have balance of smart money? Because that's, based on what you said just now, feels like would complement that metric really nicely.
So this is balance of smart money here. And we've broken this down by the new segments as well, which gives a really interesting new angle into projects. Sometimes you can see it doing its thing as well. So here it breaks down daily how many people own it. And as we see, like the hodlers, they're just hodling. Like they don't often, the line isn't going too far up and down compared to the minters or even the traders who, this is Bored Apes I think I'm on now. The traders are people who are really good at trading and making profits and taking the profits. And they're kind of trailing off just a little bit on Bored Apes, not loads. Whereas we see the early adopters and hodlers holding really strong. You've just got like a straight line here.
Yeah, I love this. So this is a new chart, right? We added this quite recently.
Yeah, let's
smart money owners.
Any projects you've got that are favorites at the moment that have been around a bit longer?
I tend to use of course, Penguin.
What's number 2 after Pudgies? Who are you having the affair with?
What's my number 2 after Pudgy? I don't know. I have a couple of suck ducks.
Suck ducks, yeah, they're cool.
Yeah,
that could be an interesting one.
Yeah, no shilling, of course.
Yeah, not.
I just find this stuff. Yeah, this stuff fun. But yeah, it could be interesting to look at some of these, like what are people doing. So not a lot of smart money owners for subducts compared to the one we just looked at, right?
Well, that was Bored Ape Yacht Club though. So.
Oh, sorry. So that's really like the gold standard, I would say.
Yeah.
Bored Apes is like the gold standard.
So there's one thing to be really aware of here as we're talking about this. So I was talking earlier about the diligence, right? So when we show price data here, we make sure it's the address that bought it. And just like on the smart money dashboard, here, all the stats you're seeing here are where the smart money definitely bought or sold it. However, when we go to a view like this, it's not, we still have to be quite like truthful about the state of the blockchain. So all of these owners could have actually been sent these as, you could call it a marketing ploy, you could call it a scam, or maybe they got sent them and they really like them because they're friends with the project. So this statistic is more interesting in how it moves if you want to get rid of that kind of scam angle, or if you don't trust it. What are they actually doing once they've received them? Because any project can send out 50 NFTs to smart money, and we see so much attention to Nansen smart money. We have all kinds of people trying in all types of different ways to try and get that list of smart money that is a bit of our secret sauce, really. But even if you had the list, the real source is that it updates all the time, and it's the heuristic behind it. So just one thing to be aware of here is that this reflects the total owners. So again, when you look at like a table like this and you say who's the top owner, it doesn't mean that they necessarily bought these NFTs, but you can find that out by going to Wallet Profiler and scanning down to here, and you see all these ones that say receive. That means someone sent them the NFT. It doesn't mean they bought it. So this isn't one that they've necessarily actually want or they've initiated having. It could be one that they've requested off chain and be sent, but I wouldn't trust that they're buying this project. I would go around through to see one where it says buy. This person's really popular, or sell. They've hardly got any buys there. Let's just have a look. We can actually use the filter here. Yeah. So the Dope Pound was probably their last proper buy. And that's kind of like gives you another layer of diligence when you're looking at these labels.
That's super interesting. We're actually up on the full hour now. So do you want to take just a couple of minutes to tell people what's coming or give some indications of, you mentioned like a Redchip Index, like anything else that people should look forward to?
Yeah, there's loads coming. We have got the full hour, so maybe we'll come back to this in a couple of months and just say, hey, these are all the new features. But we haven't even touched on the Bluechip Index today. But eventually, this is just going to be NFT indexes, and we're going to have several of them. And at the moment, we've got Louisa working on this, who is just really clever, basically, and she's a great problem solver. And she's working on, she's working putting these indexes together based on how new projects are, or maybe looking at mid caps and small caps, or maybe looking at rare chips, like what are the rarest NFTs, or those projects that don't make it into the Bluechip Index because they don't have the liquidity, but they are still really important projects. The way she's approaching this is really interesting. We're trying to see how much of the market we can track in our indexes by having very distinct categories, so that when you look at it, you can also compare it to the other indexes to see how they're moving against each other. So basically, this is going to blow up into its own dashboard. And it's been quite popular to be able to look at subsets of NFTs, especially for people that are fairly new to NFTs and don't know the more established ones. That kind of goes back to diligence, in that all these blue chip ones are ones that we know have proven liquidity, so you can sell it fairly easily, and are real projects that have been around for over 3 months. I try not to go off on one about that. The other thing,
I mean, I just wanted to interject. I mean, this is also very much aligned with the mission of our company, which is to surface the signal in blockchain data, right? Like, there's a lot of collections to look at, and these indices can actually help people get a quick overview of some of the segments of the market without having to go through like tens or hundreds of collections.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, what we're now also doing is Rarity Paradise and Rarity God Mode. So we're busy getting the traits for, I think we've got for over 500 projects now, we've got all the trait metadata. By that, we mean when you click on an NFT and you go to properties, all these different properties. And we're trying to put them into dashboards in the most meaningful way. So when you go to and one of the things I didn't realize until we did it, what's really good about it, is when you go to a new project that you don't know, or if you're new to NFTs, you can immediately see like exactly what people value about the NFTs. Like, you can go to Bored Apes and you can see that Gold Fur is really popular and has all the smart money owning it. And it's really interesting to look at like who owns it as well. I was playing with it yesterday, and I think I'll have to save that for another day, though, rather than leaking that right now.
So how far? I mean, you don't have to commit a date, right? But like, how far away are these features? Because the people are, I guess, pretty excited to use them.
They're
like
close.
The trades part,
for example. They're close. We're going as fast as we can, so it's a matter of weeks, definitely.
Okay, that's great.
End of year is, we're pushing a lot of things for end of year.
A lot of nice Christmas presents for people.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think we're gonna have to wrap it up here, but it was amazing to have you on the line, Paul. Thanks for joining. So we're gonna call that a wrap for today. We hope you enjoyed the discussion. If you like this, then please give the video a thumbs up and share it with your NFT loving friends. Also, remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any alpha leaks. So thanks again, Paul, for joining. The best way to follow you is researcher_Paul on Twitter. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, I know your Twitter handle better yourself. Amazing. And you can also reach the Nansen team in our Discord, of course, which you can find at nansen.ai/Discord. But with that, thank you very much for joining, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.